The different servers in this game all have the same basic mechanics and gameplay. All of the same stats are important for every build, and all of the same build types can generally be found in most servers, with the exception of the Deep Sea. The Deep Sea or Abyssal server has by far the most unorthodox, unintuitive, and unforgiving meta in the entire game. Sure, some other servers may have an extremely weird day-night cycle, or constant damage dealt by the overworld, or a really unbalanced meta where how good your build is gets defined by how well it can play around the top build. But nothing comes close to how different the Abyssal server is. It's so different that I actually can't even make a traditional tier list for it. Why? Well, because nobody knows what the meta really looks like down there. While data miners have managed to collect a few Twitch clips and screenshots, for the most part the Abyss is still a mystery. And this is because it's the only server in the game that's region locked. The pressure setting on this server is so high that it will easily one-shot any player trying to get into the Abyss. Conversely, the only way the Abyssal player base can survive there is by speccing into extremely high internal pressure to counter it. But that means if they try to leave, they explode. Although there's not really any way to make a tier list for the Abyss, I can still discuss the strategies that are popular in the meta, and which abilities give you the best chance of success. You can pretty much just forget that the stealth stat even exists. There's no reason to waste any points on camouflage because there's no light down there. This is why every player there is just pale. Aesthetics, palette swaps, camouflage, all total wastes of evolution points. Now, when I said there's no light, that isn't entirely true. There's no ambient light, but perhaps one of the most important abilities to learn how to use is bioluminescence. Over 90% of the player base uses this move, so mastering it is key to carving out a niche for yourself. One of the most common mistakes new players make is assuming that the best use of bioluminescence is to see. Make no mistake, trying to use bioluminescence as a flashlight in order to spot other players is easily the worst use of this ability. Bioluminescence won't help you find other players, but it will help other players find you. And so you need to be very careful about how you use this ability. Otherwise you might end up giving your position away to an enemy player. The best uses for this ability are to communicate and to bait. Communication is pretty self-explanatory. You can use bioluminescence to talk to other players, signaling danger or finding other players to party up with. But perhaps the more infamous use of bioluminescence is as bait. Both viperfish and anglerfish are both prime examples of this, using their glow to attract other players looking for a free win. Both are severely lacking in mobility and rely on their trap in order to get their targets within the striking range, but make up for it with their ridiculously high damage bite attack. This can be a double-edged sword though, since if a more powerful player is nearby, you're still giving away your location. A few other niche uses can be to use light as a distraction, almost like throwing a flashbang or flare, somewhat similar to the octopus's smokescreen ability. The other most important thing to know about the Abyss meta is how to survive in a server centered not around plants and herbivores, but around scavengers. Without light, no loot actually spawns down there, at least not in the form of plants. Luckily, there's no better area in the game to be a scavenger, because every elimination from the open ocean server leaves behind loot that falls to the abyssal seafloor. When a whale player gets defeated, it can turn the ocean floor into a year-long party, where players that would normally be enemies come to enjoy the event together. One major player that tends to show up at these, but is rarely seen anywhere else, is the Sleeper Shark, a build which, admittedly, I should have included in my shark video. Sleeper Sharks have the lowest mobility of any shark, instead having chosen to put their points into resistances, like pressure resistance, acid resistance, and temperature resistance. And unlike certain other extremophiles, these perks actually come in handy at the bottom of the ocean, especially near vents and volcanoes. Apparently this build has a great matchup against the Colossal Squid, but because neither the Colossal Squid nor Sleeper Shark have ever attended a major tournament, most players, myself included, have yet to see how on earth Sleeper Sharks can win that matchup. The last thing I want to highlight is the unmatched success of the Tube Worm. It's found a way to tap into an infinite source of XP by making great use of the heat resistance perk. They've got completely uncontested control over one of the game's resources. Even Sleeper Sharks can't handle that level of heat, so these players can basically just farm as much XP as they want. Now, if someone were to come up with a Predator build that could resist the heat of the hydrothermal vent, and also be powerful enough to pierce the armor of the Tube Worm, they could potentially get a really high score very quickly. But so far, it's never been done, and so for now, Tube Worms pretty much rule the Abyss. Now, one last thing you might notice is that none of these builds have any hair. Is this because mammals can't really survive in the Abyss? Maybe. But it's also possible that the Abyssal community happens to be huge fans of Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club has everything you need to help you look and feel your best, like toothpaste, body wash, and hairstyling products. My personal favorite is their shave butter. Dollar Shave Club is basically giving away their Daily Essentials starter set to new members for only $5. The starter set features 3 trial-sized versions of their most popular products that help you stay fresh and clean, along with their executive razor. And by taking advantage of this special offer, you'll actually be supporting my channel in the process. This $5 offer is available at dollarshaveclub.com/tierzoo. That's dollarshaveclub.com/tierzoo. Special thanks to Roman from Facts in Motion for teaching me some new tricks with After Effects that I used in this video. Thanks for watching, and thanks especially to my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to support me and get cool rewards, head over to patreon.com/tierzoo to learn more.